Welcome to the Research Works podcast. My name is Dr. Dana Poole and I get the privilege of bringing to you a very special series this week. I am here in Slovenia at the European Academy of Childhood Disability, interviewing the researchers and presenters about their work. This is very exciting and I can't wait for you to delve into this whole research conference series. We hope you enjoy the series. Welcome back to Research Works podcast, a special edition here at EACD Slovenia 2023. I've had the best time talking to so many incredible people. I've met so many amazing people at this conference, and I'm so glad that we get to bring this to you. I've been interviewing people not just on the presentations, but on posters as well. And this poster really stood out to me. So I really want to speak to you guys all about this particular poster. So welcome to the author of this poster, Anke. I so had it right before and I told you I would panic.
Exactly. No, it's not
Arkesteyn.
Anke Arkesteyn. That's perfect. It's okay. It's a difficult name.
Again, you're all very, very kind. A PhD candidate from KU Leuven.
Yeah,
and so a physiotherapist by background and found yourself doing a PhD. How's that process been so far?
It's quite good.
Yeah.
I'm in my third year of the 4 years.
Wonderful.
So I actually could do already many things for my PhD. It was already a very interesting journey.
Yeah.
So I really like doing research and doing something that can be very meaningful for actually for the population, for the community. So that's a great opportunity that I have to do this PhD.
That is so wonderful. And that sort of passion behind all that really comes through in this kind of poster you put up. So it's titled Physical Activity Participation in Adolescents with Autism Spectrum Disorder, Barriers and Facilitations, a Qualitative Study. It's just so important to understand this area. Why did you decide to look into this specifically?
Well, we actually know from the literature that adolescents with autism spectrum disorder, they have persistent deficits in social communication interaction, and they also have show restrictive patterns of interests and activities. But we also know from the literature that they often have motor skills difficulties and often have comorbid conditions, and both physical comorbid conditions like overweight and obesity, metabolic disorders, but also psychiatric comorbid conditions like ADHD, obsessive compulsive disorder, anxiety and depression, which actually makes them a very vulnerable population for certain lifestyle behaviors, such as physical activity. And I hope that everyone knows that physical activity is something very important for our physical and our mental health. And a lot of meta-analysis also demonstrated positive physical and mental health effects of physical activity in adolescents. But we know from evidence-based literature that the physical activity levels in adolescents with autism spectrum disorder are significantly lower compared to their neurotypically developing peers. But we actually still don't know why they are less physically active. And in order to better understand their physical activity behavior, we believe that it's very important to better understand the barriers and the facilitators they experience. And previous qualitative research actually mainly focused on the perspectives of the parents, which is also, of course, very important because they play an important role. But we believe that if we explore their own experiences and perspectives regarding the barriers and facilitators, that it can help to better understand their physical activity behavior on the one hand, but on the other hand also to facilitate the design of evidence-based and EACD-specific physical activity interventions to promote or to increase their physical activity levels.
I think that's so important, and we've been hearing that a lot through this conference, haven't we? Like we know, like you said, it's so important to be physically active. So we can't just say be physically active. We need to understand, why is it difficult, and we need to then tailor our interventions by understanding that. Otherwise, we're actually never going to reach the people that we're trying to support a healthy lifestyle.
Yes, exactly. And we also see many other studies already tried to design good physical activity interventions to improve or to better their physical activity levels. But there's still some gaps that we still need to fill in, and so that's why we really wanted to better explore the barriers and the facilitators they experience.
That's wonderful. That's really great. So when And I guess that relates so well specifically to this population as well. Like you described before, there are some things that are very specific for children living with ASD. So what were some of the things that really stood out to you about, perhaps maybe let's start with the barriers first so we can really understand what those might be. What were the things that really stood out to you about that?
Yeah, I think it's maybe first important to say that in this qualitative study, we did not only look to physical activity participation in general, but we opted to choose for looking at the experience barriers and facilitators in 3 specific physical activity contexts.
Okay.
Because we thought we believe that physical activity barriers and facilitators can be context specific. For example, adolescents with autism spectrum disorder may experience different barriers and facilitators in a sports club or during physical education classes compared to unorganized physical activity that say during leisure time, I just go for a walk or for a run. So that's why we looked at the barriers and facilitators in the 3 specific physical activity contexts. But I think that's really unique. Don't have time to say them all, but to summarize the most reported barriers in all the 3 contexts were very often a lack of pleasure experience. And exactly. So we also asked them, do you like physical activity and do you think physical activity is important? And the majority of our participants said I really like being physically active. Yep. And
they want to do it.
Exactly. Yep. And they also are aware of the benefits of physical activity. Yep. But they say it's very often that it's not fun to me because of probably other related barriers such as what we also did in our qualitative study is that we based our interview guide on the socio-ecological model, and that model says that a person's physical activity behavior it's not only influenced by individual factors such as their motivation or their age or their self-esteem, but also social factors such as social support, environmental factors such as the temperature, the location, and policy factors. So with regards to the individual factors, a lack of time because of school duties was very often reported. Also, a lack of motor skills, and that's what we know from literature that they often have difficulties in the motor skills domain. And they also reported by themselves, I feel that I don't have the level of motor skills that other peers have to participate.
So they're so aware of that.
They're so aware of that. At the social or the intrapersonal level, a lack of social support was very often reported. I don't have a friend to participate with, and I would love to do some sports together with a friend, but I don't have a friend to do it, and I don't really have the motivation to do it all alone. So that's what was also very often reported, as well as a lack of their social and communicative skills. So they say, I'm aware of the fact that I don't have good social interaction skills, or that I have difficulties communicating with someone else, and that's very difficult in a physical education context. The environmental level, a lot of bad weather conditions and temperature, as well as too crowded places, too noisy, and so on was very often reported. And at the policy level also disadvantage rules, like that they don't have all the physical activity opportunities for them. But what we mainly saw, and this was for the barriers, but also the facilitators, that the barriers and facilitators can be really context specific, but also related to their autism symptomatology. That was I think a big conclusion in our qualitative study.
It's it's an important point, isn't it? Because I know that in children that I've worked with, you might be in a particular indoor setting that is quite loud because all the sound bounces off the walls and the floors, and we haven't created an environment to enable that child to feel comfortable. And
wonderful.
Of course, that's it takes away from the pleasure of being there, doesn't it? So I guess that relates to what you guys have found as well.
Yeah, exactly. So they say, like, for example, in a sports club, it's very often that they have to participate in a gym with many different sports at the same time.
Sure.
So there's too much people. It's too crowded. The lights in the gym makes it difficult for them. But on the other hand, they also mentioned to us, like the facilitators, that it really helps them if their coach really tries to actually reduce those kind of barriers. Like a girl I remember that said, like, putting screens in a big gym helped me, that I know that this is our area of doing our sports, and that they are less, that they have more concentration to focus on their group.
Okay, so it's less overwhelming groups to have this big area.
Exactly. And so small groups, and if they try to reduce the noise, that really helps them to participate.
Well, there's anything else that stood out to you from a facilitator's perspective? You know, I think that's something that we can really jump onto and start to use in our practice. Was there anything else that really jumped out?
Predictability and autonomy was something, as well as pleasure experience, were very often reported. Like, they really like that they know before, for example, the content of the physical education class.
Not a surprise. They are planned.
Or so that it's like more like a routine, like maybe warming up, then doing some exercises, have a break, then doing another activity, cooling down. So that really helps them. Or that they know before just the theme of or the content of the class of that day is also something what them really helps. Also autonomy. So they're adolescents, and I think
that's coming through a lot. Choices.
Exactly. So they really like that they can choose, for example, the exercise or their peer partner to do an exercise, or the type of activity during an organized physical activity. So which type of physical activity they want to do during leisure time. That's something that really helps them. And also a good coach or a teacher really helps them. They said, like, if my coach can give me good instructions that I understand and also demonstrate the activity, or if I know it's also a little bit related to predictability, if I know before that I can ask for extra help or for an extra explanation to the teacher, that really helps me to participate. So I think that teachers, coaches, physiotherapists can play a very important role in that.
That's wonderful.
So that they can feel comfortable and that they can also make the activity more fun, more comfortable, more attractable to them. And I think if teachers or physiotherapists or coaches can take into account that they really like to choose things like autonomy, the predictability, that they can demonstrate things and give good instructions, that it can already be very good for them to participate.
That's amazing. I love that you've just summarized, an area where, you brought out the important information from the consumers, the people that we talk to and say, we want you to be more physically active. And I guess for me, even hearing this, the take home is, if we're going to recommend being physically active, we need to be able to make sure that we know what the barriers and facilitators will be for that child, so that it's actually possible, and we can therefore build their self-esteem and efficacy.
Exactly. That's what we also mentioned in our paper, which is still under review, but I hope it's got accepted very early. But that's what we mentioned, like caregivers and exercise professionals should be aware of the variety of barriers and facilitators they experience, and should also try to explore this with the adolescent. And I think at an individual level, because we know that autism is a very heterogeneous population.
That's right.
So that it's very important to ask this to the adolescent, and so that they know, like, okay, this adolescent experienced these barriers. Maybe I can reduce some of these, and these are the facilitators. This can help them, and I think that exercise professionals and caregivers caregivers can play a very important role in that.
That's wonderful. I feel like it's something that means that we can tackle. It's nothing too big if we can actually think about these processes, and by doing so, we are implementing best practice, evidence-based research into what it is that we do. So,
Exactly.
Well done. Congratulations on this body of work.
Thank you so much.
And I know you've got a little bit more to go for your PhD, but I hope you enjoy the journey.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm really happy for this opportunity here and to be here at the conference. It's an amazing place to network and to get inspired by all those amazing researchers and clinicians.
I agree. It's been so inspirational. Anke, It's been so lovely to meet you. Let's make sure we keep in touch, and we'll make sure we track your work over time.
Okay.
That'd be wonderful. To all our listeners, I hope you enjoyed that. Remember, you can head over to our website, researchworks.net. We'll be putting as many links as we can there for you about some of the presentations that occurred at this conference. But I hope you've been enjoying the series. I'll talk to you all again really soon. Bye.